Gonna be good. Gonna be good. All right, we're back in the shop here today. We have a 2-to-1 reduction wet clutch assembly. It came off of this GX270. And you'll see why I have this as a donor in a minute. But we're gonna put it on this. It's a 340. Now the reason why I've got to do this video is because this has a 25mm shaft and it's shorter, and it's meant for this wet clutch kit. This engine is just a 1-inch shaft and it's quite a bit longer. So what we're going to do today is we're going to mount this 2-to-1 reduction wet clutch that used to be on this engine, and we're going to put it on this one. We have to cut this down a little bit off of there as well. You'll see this one here has got, see how small that shoulder is, and look how big this shoulder is. So we have to take care of that as well. So I'll be showing how to do that, because basically I looked on YouTube, I saw a couple of videos, some people hacking away, and we're going to try and do it somewhat properly today. I know most of you will probably just say, yeah, get a new shaft, go on eBay, whatever. We're going to modify this. It's not that hard. We have to sand this down slightly from 25.4 to 25mm. Also cut it down. Alright, so I found my tape measure. And this is what I mean. So, let's turn it around here. So the shaft should be 2 11/16 around. You can see the one we're going to be putting it on is like 3 3/4. So that'll be one of the first things we do. Cut that down. We're going to need to tap this hole, drill it and tap it deeper after we cut it. Alright, so we cut this shaft down. You can see there's the hunk I cut off. Next thing you got to do is you got to drill this hole deeper and then tap it. Now some of these are a metric and some of them are imperial. This one happened to be 3/8 fine thread, so I got a tap that I'm going to do that. I don't think I really need to videotape drilling and tapping a hole out, but anyway, you got to do that. And then we'll go to the next step, which will be we're going to actually turn the engine on and use it kind of like as a lathe, and then we're going to kind of just take a flap wheel and sand this down so that it's 25mm, not 25.4. Then we got to take a little bit of this shoulder back to give more room for that thrust washer that you'll see later. Alright, so the hole is now tapped. See, looks pretty decent there. And so Next thing we got to do is, I mentioned before, this shoulder here is quite a bit more shallow than the shoulder here, and that's because this thrust washer, you see where it sits up against there, and then the clutch and everything else pushes up against basically this washer. So because we have quite a bit bigger shoulder here, you can see that's not going to work. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut this hat off, just so we have a flat washer, and we'll see if that'll give us the same distance, like say from like that, as what this distance is. So we're going to do that, check that, and then if that's still not enough, what we'll have to do is, like I said before, is take some of that shoulder down. And best way to do that I found is start the engine, this thing's rotating, and then just take a grinder and just do that. And I know a lot of you guys may be saying, oh, that's a hack, this and that. It's actually not that bad. You can be surprised how nice you can do it while the thing's running. As well, we still have to take this down a little bit, down to 25 millimeters. All right, so there's one other dimension that is pretty important, and this is before I cut that thrust washer down. I'm looking at my old engine here, and this is what you're going to need to know, this dimension. This is what your final dimension should be. It's about 47 millimeters from the washer to the end of the spindle. And well, when we cut that washer down, we're going to have that washer, but we're also going to have more shoulder, like on that other one, like I showed you. So just remember that when you're setting this up, after you cut your shaft, you need to have 47 mils. I don't know. Alright, so we got this thing cut down. This is going to be the washer that goes up against here and up against that shoulder. But the shoulder we have to take down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is start it up, use this, and I'm just going to basically take, a little bit off of that, kind of eye it up a little bit, and I'll clean it up with the flap wheel after, when I take this down to 25 mil. It's a bit of a hack, I know, but it actually works pretty decent. I have done it once before, and I've got a lot of hours on the engine, and it's working decent. So. Alright, so that looked a little bit sketchy, I know, but in the end, this is what I ended up with. I used a grinding wheel. I took a little bit of this off with a grinding wheel that looks like a sharp one. Just kind of put it like that, you know, like that. And when I got it close, I literally took a piece of this emery cloth and just kind of put it over like this with two hands, and then just kind of cleaned up while it was running, you know. And in the end, you want this thing, which is, this inside is 25 mil. You want this to fit nicely on that shaft, like that, just like that. Also, this washer, I still got to clean up this one side after cutting it, but that's got to go against here, and you'll see that once I get the casting, has to go up against these 4 holes screwed in, and then we'll get this guy on, and then we'll move from there, and I'll show you how to build the rest of the wet clutch. But this is pretty much all the hard grunt work that needs to get done. The rest of it's just pretty much assembly. Yeah. Okay, so we're back. I put the casting on. Obviously you can see that bolted up. No big surprise there. It's just 4 bolts. So you can see, this is the important stuff here. This thrust washer, it goes against that shoulder that we carved down a little bit. And then I've got this little key here, and this is also one important note. So you want to put this thing on, and you want to have it stick out a little bit on the end, like that. And that's for this. Later on, when this comes in, this is the last piece, kind of, that goes in, and you can see there's a cutaway on there. And then when you put that on, now there's going to be more things on there, but when you put that on, then you know you want that key to lock into that little guy, and that's why you want it to stick out long. So don't cut your key too short. Keep that in mind. All right, I'm going to set this down and try and assemble it where you can still see it. All right. So we're going to take this assembly, and it's going to fit real loose for now, but we're just going to get it on there. Just press it on. Just like that. This will be loose, it's fine. Because then this guy comes in. You got to get it in. And then you can load the plates in, the wet clutch plates. Obviously you want to line up the key. Alright, so you can see that that's locked in there. The keyway is still sticking out. Now we can get all the plates on. So these are the plates. First one, you load them up like that. And I think a lot of the other YouTube videos show this already, so this is not really rocket science, but kind of just alternate back and forth between it looks like a brake pad kind of material, clutch disc material. Just giving these a little wipe to make sure there's no garbage on them. Those are all on. And you get your last guy. And that's the one that I was showing you with the... You want to try and get that also with these teeth lined up all together with that keyway. You get your bolt, you thread it into that hole that you drilled and tapped deeper. Probably should use Loctite on there, and I'll have to zip that in a minute, but I'll put some Loctite on it. Then I'll double check. Alright, so we're going to put a little bit of Loctite on the bolt just to hold it in place so it doesn't come loose while we're giving her. Don't be afraid to put a lot on there. Then we can zip it down. See, that thing turns, that clutch engages and ends up turning this output shaft. Nice thing too about these is that it moves the output shaft further back. You know, if you're putting this on an ATV or something, you want the shaft further back. You don't want it at the front here because this starts to mess with you and your suspension and stuff. It's kind of nice. Alright, last thing to do, once you get everything on here, that bolt, tighten it up. Just get some RTV, doesn't matter what kind. I had some red RTV here and just bolt it back up. Basically all the screws here. Now be careful, some of these on some kits are longer than others. On my kit, they're all the same length, but be careful. Some of them are longer than others, and you'll bottom them out on certain holes. So you just got to watch out for that. I've done that before. And once you get all the bolts tightened up, you basically just fill it up with, I think it's a liter of oil, just 10W30 oil, nothing special. Do not use synthetic. I don't use gear lube. I've used just 10W30 oil. It works awesome. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll have more of these coming up. Maybe I'll take a video of the ATV I'm going to throw this in. There it is, idling. Let's get this thing going here.